This is definitely something that I feel rather strongly about, and thus I will have to reel myself back in to avoid excessive negativity, preferably all of it. But I simply refuse, as the writer, to what to me feels like a humiliation just for the sake of the plot, allow for him to be pushed around, stumble upon stumble, failure upon failure, meanwhile allowing the protagonist to fail. That for sure is a part of, well, a story, but not without him putting up a fight, not without exhausting every option, using every trick in his book, suffering a defeat to then get a motivation to improve is one thing, but for one, I do not feel like using that right at the start. Do not want to show the protagonist failing miserably at the very first time the reader will ever meet him, for him to only then start working on improving himself, bettering himself. I would rather the protagonist starts off as someone who is working hard to make sure that even when facing defeat, it won't be pathetic, but rather hard earned by the other side, by the opponent. And if the protagonist survives that deserved defeat, actually teaches him something, forces him to adapt, rather than sending him to this scripted event where he would have no choice, no option, no agenda of his own. And while I do agree that a perfect protagonist is boring, I am not all that interested in trying to create a protagonist who takes everything for granted and only after that guaranteed debacle he finally wakes up and starts the journey to improve himself. I spoke on the topic of the hero's journey and how I've read all of them, and this is to an extent a follow up on that, a continuation, since I simply do not believe that the protagonist always has to suffer first before realizing, hey, maybe I should get ready before I stick my fingers into the grinder next time. And since that definitely requires the careful balance between the protagonist reading ahead from the book, knowing everything, being ready for everything, and the protagonist who spends the first half of his story trying to crawl out of the gutter, constantly in need of assistance with tying his shoelaces by one of the surrounding mentor archetype characters. And I do admit that in my stories I would prefer to have neither one of those. So once again, another open-ended non-discussion, but at least I can move on to the Rapid Arrows and their adventures. And this time, instead of creating their own game, they will have a different task, as there is going to be an exhibition of handcrafted pieces created by the young people of the area. Unfortunately, not much enthusiasm is present amongst those eligible, for apparently there had been some cases of items on display being stolen from some of the previous events, and thus the organizers are trying to come up with a solution to this unfortunate situation, since there is no trust currently in the exhibition. and thus some sort of surveillance seems to be necessary for it to even truly happen. And one of the organizers has the idea to approach the Rapideros since their reputation precedes them, and hopefully they will agree. So they invite the boys, and after explaining the situation to them, the Rapideros readily agree and even come up with an idea to recruit another club to take shifts in watching over the exhibition. They ask the club Moonlight, and the plan is for the girls to watch over the exhibition during the opening hours, and for the rapid arrows to then hide somewhere in the building and watch for any miscreants if they would get the idea to try and nick something after dark. And since this has been taken care of, the organizers can now, with clear conscience, add another sign that a constant watch over the products, the creations, the crafts has been secured, and so the exhibition can now be opened to the public as the young boys and girls begin bringing in their works of art to be then displayed. One boy bringing in a boat carved out of wood, another a small car, a model, and here we have a bit of prejudice from the members of Moonlight, for one of them seems to be quite sure that the perpetrator would be one of the boys, and thus there is no need for any serious surveillance of the female visitors. We shall come back to that later, but when the girls end their shift, nothing seems to be missing, no incidents to report. They just comment on the fact that the Rapideros will be holding the watch till night. Hopefully, they'll be able to find some entertainment, and then the organizer comes in, thanks the Rapideros for, well, staying behind late, gives them the key and some last minute instructions, but then exactly during the changing of the guards, the thief strikes and one car model goes missing. A search ensues of everyone exiting the building, looking through the visitors' bags and pockets, but nothing turns out. And when nothing turns up, the rapid arrows are discussing the situation with two of the women also involved in organizing this exhibition, and they come up with a hypothesis that the thief got spooked and is still hiding somewhere in the building, so they will stand guard as previously discussed deeper into the night, and hopefully they'll be able to catch the little rat when it is trying to leave the premises. And so the rapid arrows camp on one of the staircases in the building, with Speedy commenting on the fact that he would have never thought of having a dinner inside of an exhibition center with a pack of fat meaty sausages strung across one of his shoulders. Yindra adds, especially as the security of that place, when Mirek has to remind them that they are exactly that and thus should be silent as to not spook the rat. Then Ratcap needs to refill his water flask, and so he embarks on a short journey. Yindra decides to accompany him, and so they start searching for some wash basin or any other source of clean water. Redcap wielding a flashlight and gets interrupted by Indra, who hears some sound, door opening or closing somewhere. but they fail to find anything or anyone when they reach the stairs, and Indra notices sounds of footsteps going up and that even the railing is slightly shaking. So they hurry back to the rapid arrows to rally everyone into action. And Mirek, always clear headed, begins issuing commands. Speedy and Yarka will guard the ground floor to prevent the thief from escaping through the windows, and the rest of them will attempt to corner the scoundrel upstairs. They also turn on the big lights as they have been up until now sitting in darkness purposefully, and the chase begins. Mirek also hears someone closing a door somewhere up there. They reach a hallway with multitude of them, search through every single room without finding anyone, and then the last room appears to also be completely empty, but there is a large closet in there, and when that gets opened, the culprit is revealed to be a young girl. Take that, misandry and sexism. No boy has been terrorizing these exhibitions. And then she immediately spills the beans on what was her motivation, and it is slightly bittersweet since she's been taking the toys to bring them to that one paralyzed boy from a few chapters ago, Alda, as she has heard that the rapid arrows have been visiting him as well. In the closet, a small detail where she is hiding still inside, there is this small, possibly again wooden model of a car behind her legs. But well, the rapid arrows take care of that, and when they are leaving with the girl as well, they do tell her that they are not going to turn her over to the authorities, but obviously she's to stop doing that, and that there are other honest means of acquiring various little trinkets for Alda without committing, well, crimes. She admits that what she has done was wrong, despite her intentions being good, and that's the end of the chapter and this video as well. I will continue doing this for definitely as long as I have things that I believe are worth saying in the next videos.